And we're back with the program. Once again, it's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here. Well, it's a big fight coming up this weekend in the UFC, as only they can do it. It is the man himself. He's very shy when he's actually out there in the ring. It is Conor McGregor. Okay, I'm just kidding. He's actually very out there, as everyone knows. It is Conor McGregor. He returns to a UFC ring this Saturday. And I'll tell you what, it is really going to be a big fight as he squares off against Khabib. And I'm going to butcher this name. He is the Eagle, Khabib Nurmagomedov. Nurmagomedov. You know what? I'm just going to probably edit that part up. But it is Khabib the Eagle versus Conor McGregor. It looks like it's shaping up to be a very good fight. And here to break down everything when it comes down to that fight and so much more, it is a good friend of the show when it comes to someone that we have talked to before as far as his father, because his father is the host of his father is the host of That Sports Card Show podcast. You got to check it out today on Apple Podcasts and so many other different outlets. It is his son. So we all know Vince Autullo because he's been on the show before, but his son is here today. It is AJ Autullo, producer for that show, and also a member of the Ohio Combat Sports Academy. How are you today?
Very good. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. I'm getting excited for this fight weekend. And even though it is hard for me and pretty much everyone out there, including the UFC, to say Khabib's last name correctly, it is still does not and should not take away from the extreme talent this man has as he squares off against what you and I both would probably know as the face of the UFC as far as what they want to show you, especially after signing a multi-fight deal in Conor McGregor.
Oh, 100%. This man's grappling talent is far beyond, I think, what the UFC has basically ever seen. Once he gets some hands locked around you, there's nothing that you can do, really.
It is that is the case. But when breaking down, this is a major fight and probably the most looked forward to fight and the most anticipated fight in the UFC this year. It was kind of shaky so far when it was looking for Conor McGregor's future in the UFC, but now that he has signed a multi-fight deal, I believe it's 6 fights if I'm not mistaken. Yes. Oh, that's good. Cool. Yes. So now that he's signed that multi-fight deal, he is looking to go ahead and reclaim his position at the top of the boards when it comes to UFC, not only with his mouth, but with his actions, something he's traditionally done in the past. I'm going to ask you right off, Khabib is more than worthy of a challenge, of a contender. In fact, he is the champion going into this. What are your thoughts as far as Khabib's, I guess, his chances in defending his title against, everybody's, everybody's well-known UFC contender in Conor McGregor?
Well, I'd just like to preface this with the fact that Khabib is extremely talented, and in my predictions, I'd like to just preface this by saying, in no way am I detracting from Khabib's superior wrestling tactics. In all of his past matches, he's completely dominated. Never lost a round. People point to the Gleison Tebow fight and like, oh well, people he stuffed his takedowns. That doesn't matter to me. Fighters lose rounds all the time. Wow. All right.
You're good. You're okay.
All right. Fighters lose rounds all the time. So you can't point at Khabib and say that. I'm just going to go to a different point. So yeah, Khabib.
Let me set you up like this. Khabib has got a sterling record, 26-0. Obviously he has mowed down the competition. He may have lost a round or two or whatnot, but that's incredible considering the fact that he has fought 26 times in mixed martial arts, has come out unbeaten. He is the reigning champion in that division. And Conor comes in as, well, I don't know if he doesn't even come in as the underdog, because in Vegas, where I'm at, he is still listed as a slight favorite going into the match.
Really?
Based off, I'm going to tell you right now, it's based off his popularity. People love to put money on McGregor. People are really just trying to go ahead and think of him as the favorite because he is the well-known prospect. And the idea, I think, is to get Khabib over as someone more prominent in the eyes of the UFC fight fan and the UFC world out there. I think at this point, why do you think that Khabib should be considered the favorite? Because, like I said, the money's going to go on Conor and heavy on Conor because that's who people are familiar with. Why should people think about maybe favoring Khabib instead?
Well, um, like I said before, I don't want to detract from Khabib's superior talent in at least wrestling, but I'd actually choose Conor as the favorite in this.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Conor is the favorite according to Vegas right now because not only because of that familiarity, but obviously the sheer talent that he has. Even though he does have a blemish record against what Khabib brings to the table, Khabib may have not fought the competition that Conor has. So I think that's probably one thing that weighs in Conor's favor. So at this point in time, it looks like it is still going to be a great fight, but when you break it down, what are some of the things that Conor has to do to go ahead and make sure he comes out on top with Khabib?
Well, the first thing he's going to have to do is he's going to have to get to the center of the cage first. So both of these guys are tremendous pressure fighters. The first thing that Conor likes to do is he likes to back you up into the cage and make sure that you are feeling that fence. So his game plan is to back you up and use a lateral movement to make sure that you cannot out circle him and get back to the center and make sure that you can't fight for that center. He is super comfortable uh, in the center of the octagon to make sure that he's got room to move, move back just in case somebody, throws something heavy. Um, he likes movement, so he tends to stay in the center of the octagon. And the rounds that he tends to lose, i.e. Nate Diaz, are the rounds, you know, that his back is up against the fence. So the first battle is to see who can get to the center of the octagon because Khabib, uh, he tends to want to be in the center too, but the way he closes distance is very different. The way you see Khabib close distance is usually you might get backed up a little bit, but once he feels that fence, he knows that he has to either shoot or close the distance to shoot. And the way he closes distance is a lot different from Conor in the fact that he isn't um using strikes masterfully and controlling distance. He's mostly throwing overhands and flying knees so that he can work to a clinch on the fence. And so that's where I think the difference comes in when you're fighting somebody like Conor McGregor, who is a master of distance. When you're fighting somebody like that who can frustrate you and can outmaneuver you and can cut off the cage, his game plan is to get you to blitz forward, like Khabib does a lot in a lot of his fights. Um, so unless Khabib comes up with another way to, close the distance, other than unless he has a different plan than the one that he has had in these past 26 fights, which I don't think that he will. As good as Javier Mendez and AKA is, um, I don't see him winning against Conor McGregor.
So when it comes down to it, you think that Conor is going to come out on top. And final predictions, do you think it's going to be coming out as far as going to the cards, going to the judges, or do you think that it's going to end early via KO or TKO?
I would guess second or third round knockout by Conor McGregor. I think, I think second or third knockout by Conor McGregor, and I say that because Khabib, he, I mean, however much we want to say that Conor McGregor is a great striker, Khabib is a great wrestler, and I do see him putting McGregor on his ass at least once or twice.
Fair enough indeed. Once again, I am with AJ Autullo. He is producer for That Sports Card Show podcast. You got to check it out on Apple Podcasts and so many other outlets. It is the best show when it comes to deciphering the world of sports card and collectibles. You got to figure out, you got to listen to that show when it comes to what's going on with baseball, football, basketball, hockey. And I am actually going to have his dad on in the near future, hopefully, Vince Autullo, to talk more about what's coming up for this fall in sports cards. One last thing, my friend, when I talk to you about tonight's, when I talk to you about this weekend's card in the UFC, what other fights are you looking forward to, and who looks to go ahead and start, I guess, moving up that ladder when it comes to the UFC based off the fights that they're going to go ahead and, based off the matches and the bouts that they're going to that they're going to be fighting against this weekend?
So the undercard for this fight?
Yes. Is there anybody that stands out that you think might become the next Conor McGregor, the next Khabib, the next main event level UFC player based off of a fight that they're going ahead and going to be in and going to take part in this weekend?
Yes, 100%. Sugar Sean O'Malley. I think he's just such a dynamic striker, and he's got all these knockouts to his name. Just the weird way that he attacks you. Weird, lanky, bantamweight. He's 5'11", as tall as me, but 135 pounds. Real interesting personality. He's not even ranked, but he's got he's already got a legion of followers. So I see him being I don't know, I guess your next charismatic figure of the UFC.
That is a great statement. That is obviously a very pointed and, as far as, very, very astute, perception on as far as who to look for in the undercard. It is once again AJ Autullo of that Sports Card Show podcast. He was going ahead and sharing his thoughts on the fights this weekend in the UFC, with the lightweight title fight between Conor McGregor and the champion, the Eagle, Khabib. And I'm not going to try and say his last name, because if you can, there's a lot of money coming your way as far as being able to pronounce it time and time again. One last thing again before we head on out. Can you tell us a little bit about why the Ohio Combat Sports Academy is the place to go in Ohio if you want to go ahead and get, I guess, if you want to go ahead and learn more about mixed martial arts and anything related to the sports world?
Of course. Well, it's an academy run by Dustin Ware, established jiu-jitsu name in Columbus and in all of Ohio, in association with SAS, which is George Grisel's team, which, as you might know, is a former UFC fighter. I believe the first American black belt in the UFC. I don't quote me on that. I think he was the first American black belt in the UFC. American born, I should say. Yeah, just a great jiu-jitsu pedigree. They have kickboxing classes twice a week. Fantastic jiu-jitsu program. If you go to any jiu-jitsu competition in Central Ohio, then they're going to be there.
Sounds great indeed. And once again, that is the Ohio Combat Sports Academy. For more information, you can check that out today on ohiocombatacademy.com. Well, AJ, it's been great talking some UFC action. Next time there's a big UFC fight coming up, whether it's in my town or anywhere else in the world, I hope you'll get a chance to stop by and talk with me again. And also tell your dad I said hello, and I'm looking forward to talking some sports cards with him as well.
All right. Sounds great, and I will.
All right. Thanks again, AJ. Appreciate you talking the fight game with us, some mixed martial arts with us, and so glad to have you a part of the pop culture cosmos.